there's this arc that you have in running a business where you climb the mountain and you get to the top, and then you're like, I should be happy. Like everything's going right. Like there's a point in time where it's like I'm making more money than I ever expected to ever make, and you look at yourself and you're like, I'm just not happy. Like,
Welcome back to Built Online, the podcast where we dive into everything online business. Here we explore the minds of creators who are building online businesses to power their dream lives and ultimately transform economies. I'm your host, Cody McGuffie. And if you're new here, I'm the founder and CEO of EverBee, a creator commerce platform where we believe that everyone deserves the opportunity to pursue their passions and to live life on their own terms. We're on a mission to make creator commerce accessible to everyone throughout the world, no matter where they are, and to make a positive impact in our families and our communities. And we believe that everyone that truly commits to a vision and pursues it with an undeniable force of will, that they will ultimately succeed. I'm really excited about today's show. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to ask a quick favor for anyone that's listened to the show before. If you haven't already, please let us know if these episodes and these conversations are helpful or not. Share your feedback in the comments and review it if you would. It truly helps the podcast. It helps our team, it helps me personally understand what types of guests that we should have on the podcast. That really just helps us improve the show to make it better. We need your feedback. We would not be able to operate without your feedback. So be sure to follow the podcast, subscribe to the channel wherever you're watching this, so you really never really miss out on that one nugget that can really change your business and change your life. Enough of that. Really excited to have you here. Let's jump into today's show. David, what's up, man? How are you?
doing good.
I'm fired up to have you here, man. Thanks for coming on.
No, I'm glad to be here. Should be fun.
Totally. You have an interesting background. We've already started a little bit of having this conversation before we hit record, but to to give everybody some context, do you mind if I kind of share a little bit about what I know about you, and then you can kind of fill in the gaps after that?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I sent you a book because it was like the whole story. So
I'm really happy that you did. So I'll probably butcher some of this. So again, we can go back and fill this in. But you're living in Texas. You're originally from Southern California. You moved your family out to Houston area. You have background in all kinds of stuff, but specifically Amazon FBA, Etsy. You have experience being a graphic artist at a sign company. You're newly married. Oh no, no, this is you were newly married in
yeah,
2013
I
when you moved.
backed up the story quite a bit. Yeah.
Beautiful. You overcame this huge lump sum of student loan debt. And you basically, that's what kind of got you into this side hustle game of starting your own business. Essentially, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's right.
And now you're crushing on Etsy. I know that's why B invited you on. And you guys have over 20,000 sales in your Etsy shop. You started that shop in what year?
It was in 2014, and then we had switched to Amazon FBA, and then now we've come first full circle, which I can fill in the gap of why that is. But yeah, now we're back on Etsy, and I'm really excited about that. So
In revenue this year, and we'll go back to again, but in this year alone on Etsy, your Etsy shop, how much revenue have you guys grossed?
for this year, it was a partial year, and honestly, I haven't even totaled it up because we're running Amazon still and Etsy. But I would say in the last 6 months, yeah, it's in the revenue probably 120,000, something like that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly what I have too. I have the data in front of me. And, yeah, 119, almost 120,000 basically in gross revenue, over 4,000 orders. You guys are crushing, especially for a partial year.
Yeah, no, it's been exciting to try Etsy again and jump back into it after so long because we had started in 2014, and that was a totally different ball game back then. It was a new frontier for us. And with Etsy, it's awesome because you just post a product and just get instant feedback, and you figure it out, you make the product, package it. We do handmade, so everything we do is handmade. So yeah, you want me to tell the story about like how we started
Yeah.
our first
Now,
product?
now let's go ahead and jump back into the story. Yeah, exactly. Fill us in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I worked at this sign company, and I had access to our shop at the sign shop, and we were getting married, and we were just dead broke. We had a large sum of student loans, and
This is 10 years ago,
we
by the way. This is 10 years
this is
ago.
like 10 years ago. Yeah, so we needed to make our own wedding decorations and basically DIY our wedding. And so I set a budget for what we needed to do, and we started making all these wedding decorations. My wife's on Instagram and Pinterest and stuff, sending me things every day, and I'm like, all right, I think I can make this stuff. And so we went and cut the wood and stained it and put the stickers on it, and then after the wedding, we started realizing, oh, this is real life now. Like we now have bills, and these student loans start coming due, and so we're looking for side hustles to
How much student loan debt do you have?
we had close to 120,000, and it just kept ballooning too because you're deferring it and interest keeps. So it was like this. I kept calling it my dragon that I had to slay because it just felt like this ominous presence in our house at all times. So that was really one of the main factors for like how do we. I wanted to just go head first and just tackle it and figure out like any way we can. We can't avoid it. And the career path that I was in with graphic arts, it was like doing the math on it. It was like I'm making 13, $14 an hour at the time. Like how many promotions do I need to get to 25 bucks an hour? And then I
So this is
looked at
like
25.
27,000 a year. It sounds like $30,000 a year salary.
Yeah, and you start doing the math. You're like, okay, so I need this many promotions, and this many job changes and then that wasn't even enough because then you're thinking house and kids, and for 3 or 4 years down the line, it just the math wasn't adding up. And so I was like, I've got to supplement my income. So
Who'd
we
your
were
wife do?
looking around.
Was any of that
Um,
your wife's, or was it just yours?
Yeah, it's both of ours. So we both had student loans. My wife was in grad school, and she was wanting to be a marriage and family therapist. And a lot of the work for that is getting your license, and before you can really get the job that you need to get with that. And so she had to do a lot of intern work, which was unpaid.
Mm.
And then we had a really tough conversation. We had to talk about like, is this because kids came up, and we're like, talking about if we want to have kids, like how is this job going to mesh with that? Like how in love with this job are you? Because this is a difficult job where you're dealing with people's serious problems. And she was already doing this intern work where she's getting text messages that are like serious, crisis in people's lives and pretty heavy stuff. And and then at the same time, it's like, how do you raise kids and have a job? And this is the thing that everybody that's married and has kids is dealing with is what how do you manage careers and family life. So we talked about it. She's like, I'm more passionate about being a mom than being this career path. And it was such a long process of getting your license and doing all these intern hours that she decided to pause that while we started selling some of these wedding decorations that we had made. And it really didn't make any sense in the beginning because it was like a few $100s that we were making every month. But I'll tell you, that few $100s was just enough to like make the payments and balance our budget.
Wow.
And it was like we were so happy with that few $100s that we were making. And what was awesome is like from the wedding, it's like we had all these awesome photos, and the photographer just by chance had taken pictures of all those decorations. So we had these professional photos,
Wow.
and so that's how we launched. That's how we launched the store. And we were cutting and staining in our we had this little one bedroom studio apartment, and I mean, the fumes were all in there, and we were just hustling, and bought this
Classic
little sticker.
entrepreneurial story. Like, this is like a
Yeah,
classic Ep.80 and also classic just entrepreneurial story of just hustle and grit and taking an opportunity where there probably was seemingly no opportunity. Like, for a lot of people would just pass on that opportunity, but you guys somehow crafted a way to turn something into from nothing into something.
yeah, and it's funny when you put your back against the wall. Like a lot of times you figure it out.
Yeah.
And like I posted the pictures. I didn't even know where I was going to get the wood, like how we were going to make it. I didn't even have the machine to do it. And so I just posted the pictures because we had the pictures already. And once we made our first sale, it was like, oh, we got to figure this out. So I went to Home Depot, and I convinced the Home Depot guy to cut the wood for me, and then we bought a little can of stain, and we stained it, and just figured it out from there.
So similar, man. A very similar story. Like, I'm seeing so many commonalities between my story, my wife's and I's story, and yours too. We just did stuff like this too all the time. It always comes back to there was a big dragon. I guess I'm using your words, like a big dragon, kind of you're going up against. And for us, it was like student loan was one of them, and then I really wanted to quit my job. And it's like,
Mhm.
how do I do this? Like, it's not going to be doing what I'm doing now. I can tell you that. And then you want to help your parents. Like for me, a big thing was like I wanted to be able to help my family financially. and there would just never be enough doing what I was currently doing. So I almost like you start questioning, what do I need to be doing in order for that thing to be a reality? Oh, well, it seems like almost everyone that's pretty wealthy around me, or at least I'm listening to, they all own businesses of
Hmm.
some sort. And not many of them are employees. There are some of them, but you know what I mean? And so then it's like, oh, I need to be a business owner. Got it. Now, what type of business owner? Then it's like, then you have the whole options of that of drop shipping, hand making stuff on Etsy, just hustling Amazon FBA and all this stuff too. No, but that was kind of similar to our story too, man. It's very similar.
Yeah, no, I hear that all the time, and I always kind of for a while resented working for small businesses that were 3 to 10 employees, and I thought, man, I'm not getting the experience I need, I'm not getting the growth opportunities and all this stuff. And then later on, now in retrospect, I'm like, oh wow, I learned so much by being around these guys, because once you're working closely with the business owner, you realize that they're just normal guys, and honestly, like there's not a I'm not a super high IQ guy. Like I'm not the
Yeah.
smartest guy in the room. Like I'm just figure things out, and I kind of like a lifetime learner kind of thing, and that's all you really need. And
I'll
so
say,
that
David,
was I was actually really grateful for that
pause you
experience of
there for a
working with those
second.
guys.
Like
Yeah.
that is not normal, probably. So it's funny you say like you're a normal guy, and I appreciate that modesty and I appreciate the humbleness because I would identify this very similarly. But I would say the fact that you even think that way, the figuring it out by yourself, figuring it out on your own, just the ability to kind of be clear on your goals and reverse engineer where you want to be in order to like what you need to do today to make that happen. That's pretty much not normal actually today. Should it be normal? Yes. Like we want this to be normal, but
That's true. Yeah, because you think about the
it's
school
very
system and the
abnormal.
way, yeah, the way that you're raised. I'm even thinking of my own kids. I'm like, wow, like they're already, so stressed out about like the format that school is in, and you kind of learn that. And I do remember leaving college and thinking, oh my gosh, it's like there's no template now. It's I mean there is a template of like this corporate ladder,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, that's the only option. And you do start to realize that, oh wow, you've got to expand your horizons, because you are format. I mean, you are trained to like just follow the path, and then all of a sudden you're like real life hits you. Like there's bills and
Totally.
there's kids and there's marriage and all this stuff.
Yeah, which is, and again, nothing is wrong with that traditional path. I would just say it's the majority of people listening to this, they're called for something different. They're called to do something greater for their life, and typically maybe it's a supplement, like a side hustle is like a supplement to their current corporate job, which is great, by the way. Nothing wrong with this at all, especially if you love your job. But it doesn't have to only be one or the other. It can kind of be the mixture of both. And then if you want to kind of go all in on being a business owner, you can absolutely do that too. Um,
Yeah, totally. Because people have vacations they want to do, or they have things that it's like they just keep putting it off. And it's like, well, start a little side hustle, assign that money to that goal that you have, and then go do that thing, and then you don't have that stress. Keep your day job, and that's just as exciting, and there's just not hardly any risk in doing a side hustle like that.
Completely agree. I want to ask you about your specific businesses that you have today. So you have Amazon
Yes.
FBA. So if you could like almost like list them for me, like what are your income streams online today?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be completely honest with you, and it's I'm in. It's more of a cautionary tale at this point. I wish I could tell you that I'm crushing it, and there's and on Etsy we're seeing growth, and we're but I'm at the startup stage again. I'm back to where I was in 2014 and doing it all over again. And there's this arc that you have in running a business where you climb the mountain and you get to the top, and then you're like, I should be happy. Like everything's going right. Like there's a point in time where it's like I'm making more money than I ever expected to ever make. And you look at yourself and you're like, I'm just not happy. Like, and you
Mm,
become complacent and things kind of just flatten. And so I hit that point, and at the same time, the business also, well, I can go into Amazon FBA because it's been super frustrating. But yeah, I'm back to the kind of the exciting
cool.
startup phase. I mean, it's a little bit more stressful because we have kids, and we've got it's not just me and my wife in a little apartment anymore. But at the same time, like we leaned up our budget, and I'm back in startup mode.
Love that.
So yeah. So to kind of explain the story, like uh, we're winding down our Amazon FBA
Cool.
business. So and that's why I'm so excited about Etsy, and it's a cautionary tale for folks. And I know that I believe you and some other folks that you're associated with, they talk about having an email list, owning your customers, having some direct contact with them, and that's the main issue that I had. I added it up, and over the last 10 years, we've had over 1 million customers on Amazon
Wow.
FBA, and I don't have a single email address,
Yeah.
and it drives me crazy because it's like at the beginning, it was like, oh, we have the listing up on Amazon and we're ranked, and that ranking just seemed to stay there, and it was like, wow, we found this gap on the marketplace and our review, and then there were, I was, you also fall into listening to the wrong people, and there was these gurus and these guys that tell you, get this many reviews and that's going to help you hold your position and all this stuff. So we were like thousands of reviews and all this stuff, and you're like thinking that this is like digital real estate. Like I've got my space locked in.
Mhm.
But the truth of the matter is if you don't have emails or you don't actually own that, like it can all get taken away. And so
Sure.
slowly over time, it's like Chinese factories are coming in on Amazon, and people are, they're lowering their prices, and then demand shrinks a little bit. But for us, our main issue has been the Chinese competition. They
Yeah.
just saw, like, in the beginning there was hardly any handmade style items on or at Amazon, and it was this awesome opportunity. And so we jumped in, and it was just explosive growth because once you get it into their system, you get 2 day shipping and the Prime badge and all
Yep.
that stuff. And so it was a great opportunity, and it was a fun ride. But at the same time, in the back of my head, it was always like, why,
Can
I need to find a way to own some of this. And it just never really happened because it's so addictive, and you get that, what is it, platform capture. So you're just stuck on there. And I wish I would have
Mhm.
kept the Etsy shop running. I wish I would have kept our online store running.
Was it a
And
separate brand? Was it a separate brand or same company, same brand, same product?
same brand. We changed the name because we went from wedding products and expanded into home decor,
Okay.
which is another cautionary tale too. Is like making sure you really niche down and find a space that you're in. And we had wanted to even out our seasonality, so we created we changed it more to a home decor brand, and it got really broad because you're just
Yep.
finding gaps on Amazon, and you're just putting products everywhere, and none of it started getting less and less cohesive. And
Yep.
so all that just kind of came, it was working while it was working, and then when things start getting more lean and more competitive, that's when you really rely on those assets that I
Yeah,
didn't have at the time.
the main ones.
So
So you are today, you are winding Amazon FBA down, so you're not gonna focus necessarily on that one anymore. You're
right.
doubling down on Etsy, it sounds like, and you're gonna be creating a site as well for yourself just so you can, like, own
Yes,
your
and
own
then
email list and all that stuff?
exactly, yeah, and it's been so much fun because I love being able to communicate. Like, there's things that when you're an Amazon FBA seller, it's like it's very impersonal with your customers. Like, I
Gotcha.
love yeah. A lot of people complain about the customer service on Etsy and all this, but I'll tell you, it's like you get awesome feedback. Customers are asking for products, and you're like, "Well, that's my next product." Like,
You're a great
you
customer.
ask,
Yeah.
yeah, and you're just like, I miss that so much. Like, I get feedback from people, you know, just compliments, and then even problems. I can, if somebody has an issue and you give them a full refund, and they didn't expect that,
Mhm.
you get a positive review. And it's like on Amazon, it's so impersonal. Like the review system and everything is I have no chance to contact them before they write that review. And a lot of times customers will on Etsy will contact you first, and then
Mhm.
you can resolve it. And if you over deliver, like they'll give you a positive review. So there's this negative experience, and yeah, maybe it cost me. Our products are in like $20-$30 range. Maybe it cost me $20-$30, but it's like I just got a review. Like I would say 50% of the time, those negative ones, like those negative experiences that I have with it for whatever reason, maybe the package was lost or something, like they turn into a review. So I'm like, I'm paying for reviews in a roundabout way, and it's so organic that I love it. So
And you're
anyway, I
doing the right
just
thing for the customer. Yeah, I get that. You're a customer-centric brand, which is beautiful, and that's kind of where I think the market is probably going to, is like this close like e-commerce is I think is going to transition into this is my own personal opinion, by the way, um, transition from more of a transactional based brands, to more like a customer relationship with the seller or with the brand owner or with the creator of the product. Like that communication is gonna become more and more and more important. That's why we're seeing personal brands become so important. A lot of times when people are like creating content, and it's like, "Hey, it's David," and it's like, "Oh, David also owns this brand," and, and they're communicating directly with David kind of about this thing, and they feel like they have a relationship with David, and he happens to sell home decor. Um, so that's why Etsy is thriving, I would say, because a lot of other buyers actually value this too. They want direct contact that with that seller. My question is, well, not really a question, it's actually just an observation. It's funny that you say that you're in startup mode, which totally relate to that, and I love that. A lot of people listening to this is like, David's crushing it though. So it's funny,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah.
uh,
I
expectations,
feel
but this year you've made 100 almost 120,000 gross revenue on Etsy alone, over 4,000 orders. Um, in the last month, you guys have done over 14,000 in revenue. Uh, this is a handmade product, is that correct? Handmade?
yes.
What's your profit margins look like?
After ads and everything, probably 30%.
30%? Super healthy. And then before ads, probably 35, 40% or something like this?
Yeah, a little bit higher, yeah.
Cool, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
we've been experience because coming from Amazon, like you focus a lot more on ads than most people would on Etsy.
Yeah.
So I was able to use some of that experience on Etsy, and I think it's a missed opportunity that I think a lot of folks are missing is matching up ads with your organic sales and averaging those together and finding out what that profit margin is
Mm,
after ads, combining your organic and your PPC sales. Because it's like, yeah, maybe, if we have a product that, maybe we're only making, 10%, 15% profit margin on the ad sales. But combined with our organic sales, it's like, it works out where we're still profitable, still in that 30% mark, whatever we need. And, that's what happens is the ads are a flywheel for your organic sales. And if you can get
yeah.
the conversion rate to where Amazon where Etsy's happy with those conversions on those ad sales, then your organic starts going up. And if you can get that going, then you can really keep that flywheel running. And that's why, I think in a short period of time we were able to grow this brand was keeping the ads running, and then making sure that conversion rate's good, and then the organic sales have sort of stayed where we want them to stay. So
When did you join EverBee?
probably a year or two ago. I'm not totally sure because
Cool.
I was also using Everbee for my Amazon research.
A lot of people do that.
So yeah,
That's
so we were
common.
doing that for quite a while. So I probably got in pretty early, but I don't remember
I'm curious
exactly.
because, like, I haven't had a whole lot of conversations with others that do that, but basically, were you using Everbee to kinda, like, identify niches on this platform, which is Etsy, and to, like, kind of sell stuff on Amazon FBA? Is that kind of the strategy that you were using?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's even like YouTube guys that are offering that as showing how to use Everbee to sell on Amazon.
Is
So
it really? Oh, cool.
yeah, because yeah, you can with Etsy, people are constantly testing and trying, and they'll hit things, and then they'll you can capture that a little bit early. And
Yeah, the
I actually
trend is,
saw yeah, one really fun story was have you heard of Native deodorant? They're like this
native.
massive,
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. So they're in Target and all this places. They just got sold for like $100 million, but
I listened
they
to that story a while back.
yeah, but the guy that started it, I heard this story where he was researching on Etsy, and he saw that natural deodorants were starting to rank high. And I don't know if he was using your tool or some other tool, and like he was starting to realize this trend, and that's what was his catalyst for starting this natural deodorant brand. So a lot of times people don't realize what they're sitting on. Like, you start seeing all these sales on Etsy, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. But the thing is, it's like you're innovating. Like you never know. Like even with our niche, which I shared before the conversation, I don't mind sharing it. Like we're in the baby shower niche, so like in the baby and parenting kind of space, and the demand is because it's a pretty broad niche. So I'm not, but like that is an area where the demand is outpacing the supply. So if you can find those areas where you're like, oh, customers are out there searching for it, and you're starting to see those sales, even if you have a pretty basic product, but you're seeing this demand, it's like that's actually very important data that you don't realize that you just captured with your product that you just threw out there. And I really, you can scale these things. And that's what I did with the wedding products too. It's like I saw this opportunity to see how much people are shopping for their weddings, and then you just keep expanding from there.
Isn't it so
But yeah, you
crazy?
don't.
You don't know, yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, it takes a little bit of vision and a little bit of experience to kinda identify certain opportunities like this and really to capitalize on them, of course, but that's hopefully the point of this podcast is for someone to take that away and see the opportunity. Like, you can look at native deodorant, for example, and let's say that they're looking at deodorant on EverBee and or on Etsy, and then they're using EverBee to validate, "Oh, yeah, like, natural deodorant is this thing's doing, like, $10,000 a month in this product. Okay, cool," and then they start thinking, "Well, what if I sold it on Etsy? Cool, but what if I also had a website also and started to scale it with Facebook ads?" And let's assume I put a great
Exactly.
product together, of course, and great packaging and great branding and all this stuff, of course, you need this. But that decision that I forget his name, that they did that, they sold the company for, like you said, $100,000,000, which is bonkers, right? And it sounds crazy, but actually happens all the time, all the time. Companies are built or they're started with, like, some sort of niche idea, maybe with some data validating it. Then it takes a founder and a team to actually execute on it, and then they grow the revenue to a certain point, and you have now built something that's very, very valuable for, somebody else to purchase from you. And I didn't know this when I was starting in business. I didn't know that you can really sell businesses. I was so
No, neither
uneducated.
did I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What do you mean you sold a business for $100,000,000?" Like, my dad owned a business and he wasn't selling anything. Like,
Right.
he was working on the tractor, and so, it was insane to me. And for anyone that's never heard this before, Google literally how to sell a business or how to sell an e-commerce business or multiple of a e-commerce business, and there's such thing called multiples for anyone who hasn't heard this before, on your revenue or on your profit, and typically it's depending on the industry, there's a multiple, and if e-commerce, for example, it would be, let's call it multiple on revenue was, let's call it 2 or 3x. I don't know, David, if you know this, but
Yeah, no, something like that.
yeah, so if you do $1,000,000 in a year in sales, your business is probably worth just $3,000,000 in value.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy, right?
Yeah, one fun hack you can do too that I started doing a while ago was there's a website called, I think it's Biz Buy Sell. But anyway, there's a bunch of these websites like broker sites for selling businesses.
Mhm.
And if you go in Biz Buy Sell and you go to their advanced search, they actually have a keyword field. And what I put in there, I put Etsy in there,
Mhm.
and you search, and you can see all the businesses that either are selling on Etsy or they'll put in the comments, growth opportunity on Etsy. And
Cool.
what's awesome about that for like a business starting up or thinking about what they want to do with their business in the future is a lot of times even in just the paragraph or two that they give you on there is usually pretty broad because you need to sign an NDA or something like that. But they'll give you some information about where like their distribution channels, like what social media accounts they're using, and then you'll see the number that they're selling the business for. You'll see their revenue and their profit, and it gives you just an idea of like what you can do with these types of businesses and what kinds of products. A lot of times, like you'll get an idea of the niche even from that search on Biz by Sell. You'll see, oh, like furniture. You'll see, what they're doing. And if you wanted to be a little bit more sly, you could, even contact them and act like a buyer and get the prospectus and get the information and go a little further. But yeah, so like it's really helpful to get into that because you'll see what profit margins and things that you need to have to really scale, and it gives you an idea. And
Totally
it's
agree.
exciting too. I love
Yeah,
like learning
dreaming a little
about.
bit, kind of seeing what's
Yeah,
possible.
exactly.
Yeah, totally. I have a couple questions I wanna kinda, like, bang through, just because I know that a lot of people are curious. First of all, how do you use EverBee today, for Etsy for your Etsy brand?
Well, I use it with to think because we've got these few products and it's sort of swallowed up our time right now, so we haven't been thinking about new products. But yeah, I use the search bar most often, so we're looking for keyword volume, and then what I did was I created a Google sheet where for building listings. And I go through all the root words first, and then I start expanding from the root words and make sure I'm not doubling up on certain words, and then I'm plugging them in to where I think is right for the title, the title, description, and the tags.
So you're mostly
What I
using the
mainly
keyword research because 'cause you're not really doing product research anymore because your products are crushing it, so you're not really expanding your product line. You're mostly just using it to build listings, essentially.
Yeah, and then if I were, to start adding new products, yeah, I'm mainly using the search bar function, and then I'll do some broad, research with the product searches, and start looking at what stuff's ranking, what's selling, and that sort of thing. But once I've got kind of our first few products, I'm thinking a little bit more about like customer avatar, like who's my main customer, and trying
Mm,
to expand my catalog that way. Because that was one of the traps that I fell into with Amazon FBA was what's a hot keyword? Let's sell a product. Okay, what's the next hot keyword? Sell a product. Then
mm,
it got really not very cohesive, and I think Etsy's a lot better at creating more of a branded experience for people, where your store feels more like a store. Where on Amazon, like nobody goes to the stores on Amazon. Where on Etsy, you'll get sales where people will buy multiple products, and it's a lot easier for people to stay with your store, even though their other competitor products are everywhere on the page.
right,
But
it's
once
loyalty.
they yeah, there's a little more loyalty on Etsy, and that I think it translates a lot better to having your own online store too. So,
Yeah.
if you have a handmade or an Etsy style product, I encourage everybody to start on Etsy, test it out because you have this free traffic, and then build your store because
Mm,
it's just so quick and easy to test products.
completely
Um,
agree. Next question, how many listings do you have?
we only have three.
3. And you guys have done
Yeah.
4,000 sales on Etsy with 3 listings. I love this, and I already knew the answer to that, but I wanted everyone to hear it because people think that you need 3,000 listings, and not that that's bad, it's just, like, you don't need that in order to just crush it. You need a great product serving a specific customer, and then just rinse and repeat. You agree with this?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Like, I think if you can find a product that you're differentiating, and it's good too because we have two products, and I was experimenting with a digital product, which honestly, like every time I get a digital product sale, I'm like way more excited about that, even though it's only like $5 here and there.
Mhm.
It's like I didn't have to work at all for that one. I didn't have to worry about that at all. So I've got two products, and one of them it's the price is more competitive, and so that one's selling I think because the price is a little more competitive. But now that we're selling more, like a lot of people are buying both the products, and then the other product, it's more the product is differentiated. So it's good to see like both are having demand and they're both selling for different reasons. I think I'm not totally sure. I don't know. There's not really data to back that up, but at the same time, kind of tell just based on competitors.
So cool. I think it's the perfect transition into, rapid fire questions.
Sure,
You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go for it.
What's your favorite business book?
Favorite business book? I like Extreme Ownership by Jocko
Mm,
Willink.
I haven't read that yet, it's on my list, though.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's good.
What's the one thing that you wish that you knew before starting your business?
I mean, I already said it. It's like own your data, have contact with your customers, own assets in your business, and build assets over time.
Curious how you're doing that with Etsy, because Etsy can remove that, ability to have emails from, you know, basically extract emails from them. How are you viewing this? Is that just like you're gonna build a brand on Etsy and then build your own site and then kind of like do both?
Yes, that's exactly what I wanna do is test products on Etsy and have that a little bit more free flowing, and then move products onto our online store. I do put an insert into our boxes on Etsy and offer a free gift or whatever, like a digital download, and then we're capturing some emails that way. But yeah,
Beautiful.
that's gonna be the main focus. Yeah.
Completely agree with this, like, strategy too. It's not that you have to choose between Etsy and your online store. It's more just like use Etsy as a sales channel for your online store. Like, your online store is like
Mhm.
your real estate. It's like the thing that you own. You own all the customer data. It's your email list. Etsy is a beautiful thing because they bring you traffic and you can fulfill this. And some people just like to buy on Etsy. So it's perfect. It's an opportunity. So just treat that as
Yeah.
a sales channel versus the only sales channel. That's what I
Yes,
would
absolutely.
recommend.
And I was so surprised. I had like a half built website for our brand, and I don't even know how customers found the store, but like just having it built, like a customer went on there and they spent like $100, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is like a half built. I don't even know how you found the product page because it wasn't on the homepage, and
So
so I
cool.
don't know. Yeah, so you
Your
never
margins are
know.
better too, like, typically your margin you could usually
Yes,
charge higher amounts because you're not competing with other listings on the page, which is cool.
exactly.
It's interesting. My margins have always been higher off of our online store. Like, they're always like, "Wow, they spent $50 on here," where on Amazon or on Etsy, they would be spending I'd be having to price it at $25. It's like, it's crazy.
Right, exactly. It's huge.
Next question. How many, hours do you typically work on your business per week today?
Well, that's tough because I'm like winding down our business, so I've got multiple tasks going on. But to operate our business as it is, like just the Etsy side of it, it's like 2 hours a day, and then on the Amazon side, that's typically been like, I built teams out, so like 10 to 15 hours we got it down to. But then now that we're kind of winding things down, I'm working a lot more on it.
Cool. What's the worst business advice that you've ever received?
Worst business advice I ever received. Oh, that's a tough one. The worst. Okay. Um, dude, I've heard some terrible Amazon FBA guys like share some stuff. I mean, it's all the hacky stuff. So like buying reviews, like doing stuff that's black hat. Like it never works out. Like there's people that will swear by certain things that are, this is because for a while on Amazon you could go into a Facebook group and basically hire people to write reviews for you. And then they
Yeah.
also had some other hacky stuff like hiring people to buy products from you, so then your rankings would go up. And it works for a while, and then it doesn't work, and then but it's not really like a standard operating procedure that you
Hacky.
can keep forever. Yeah, it's hacky. It's like it works, and it's like yeah. Sometimes in some spaces, it's like everybody's doing it, so they feel like they have to do it. But I would rather just do it straight, and
Play
it
by the
seems to
rules
always
and
work out.
win the legit way, right?
We're in the legit way, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Last question. If your family and your friends and your customers, they all have to get together without you, and they had to write like an honest article or a book or something about you, characterizing like all of your traits, your characteristics, all this stuff, good and bad. What are the things that they would say?
Oh my god, dude, that's deep. I don't know. Oh man.
You know you're signing up for this, huh?
Shoot, no, I didn't know this was gonna be like therapy. No, just kidding. Uh, I get, you know, on the more like negative side I know about myself is I'm pretty scattered. Like I'm a shiny object guy. Like I get that, and the plus side that's a sort of an entrepreneurial like superpower too. But it's just about reining that in. But yeah, definitely can get a little off track. The I guess yeah, I don't know, man. I like building things. Like I'm always building things. So like, like if it's customers and family stuff, I don't know, man. That's a tough question. Oh man, yeah. I mean, customer service centric. Like I definitely am empathetic to people's needs and what they want. So I guess if
What would your wife say
I
about you?
my life,
Sure.
uh, I mean, I'm a hard worker. I don't have any problem getting up and facing whatever needs to be faced every day. It's tough. Like right now, I don't wish this on anybody, but I do consider it a growth opportunity. Like, I think learning how to wind down a business is way less fun than building a business.
Mm.
So I think yeah, she'd probably say that I have like that kind of growth mindset, sort of hardworking kind of person that doesn't really quit, which can be to a fault sometimes.
I love that. I could totally see that, by the way. Completely agree. From just the 40 minutes that we've talked. Um, where can people find you, man? Where can people learn more about you, follow your brands, follow your growth, anything?
That's a great question, and that's the stage I'm at where I don't have any of that. I that's running an online business has always been a lonely pursuit. So I really appreciate this conversation, and I think just started going to some conferences and things like that. But that's top of mind right now. Is putting myself out there more, because it's so much more fun doing this in community, like sharing stories about business and connecting with people that get inspired and all that. So I don't really have
Do you have an
anything to
Instagram, LinkedIn, anything, that people at least can be like, follow, even if you don't post?
yeah, if Instagram, it's me, David Anderson,
Beautiful.
and I'll
It's me,
respond to that.
David Anderson, and we will, by the
Yeah,
way, anyone listening to this, we'll link to in the description below, or in the podcast show notes. Cool, fair enough. Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
There's so much more I wanted to cover, but it's funny how just time flies by so quick. Thank you
Dude,
for
I got
coming
some
on.
good tips and stuff. If you ever want to come, talk Etsy and talk about some strategies and some fun ways to expand business, I'd love to talk about it. So let me know anytime.
Beautiful. What can you leave with somebody with right now? Maybe with one of those tips right now, if
Yeah, for
they're like
sure.
trying to build their Etsy store, and let's say because this is mostly about
Yeah.
Etsy today. And you're doing really well there. What's one tip that you can really leave them with?
Well, one thing I'm really excited about is I realized a while ago that Etsy shares publicly people's favorites. So when they favorite items, You can go to a customer's profile, you can see all their favorites. And I had already been thinking about like, what's my customer avatar, and starting to research like what it would be like to put together like my ideal customer. And I was like, wow, I've got a picture of my ideal customer with all their favorites. And if you go through, and I've got all these customers with this brand that we have, and we started looking at multiple, and I started putting them in spreadsheets. What are the common products that I'm seeing between these different customers? And then you're like, wow, I've got my next 10 products. Like they're
Crazy.
all like 50 of these customers, and I could keep going. It's like 50 of these customers are all buying baby blankets. Well, it's like, why am I not selling baby blankets? I could probably get that, that customer to buy 2, 3 items or more if I just offer the things they're already
Mm,
buying from other people. But that to me was like eye opening. I was like, oh wow, I've actually had. And sometimes I'll find a customer where you see like their whole experience. Like you see all their products they bought when they got married, and then you see, oh, they're traveling and vacationing and their honeymoon, and they're doing
mm,
stuff, and then they're buying anniversary gifts, and then they have their kids, and you see like this picture of a customer. And then the idea with a customer avatar is you're always picturing that customer when you're creating products, and you're contacting them, and you're writing your copy and all this kind of stuff. So I thought that was a really cool way
very
to do
cool
that. So
tip.
if you have a store and you got one sales, and you're in a niche, it's like go through all your customers' favorites and see what who your customer is, and get a clearer picture of them.
I love that. David, thank you, man. I really appreciate you.
Yeah,
We'll
of
have to have you
course,
on again in maybe the next 3 months or something like that to get an update on where you're at. It'd be fun.
dude. I love it. Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Talk
All
to you
right,
soon.
man. Talk soon. Bye.